talk about Veronica. This is Veronica Austriaca, subspecies teucrium. I'm not 100% sure on that pronunciation, but see spelling above. Veronicas are also commonly called speedwells. You'll hear people say the Veronicas or the speedwells, but there are many, many cultivars of Veronicas or speedwells, whatever you want to call them. So just be aware of that. You can get dwarf varieties, creeping varieties. I think there's even some invasive ones. Some are annuals, some are perennials. This one's a perennial. Veronica Austriaca is Latin for Austrian Veronica, which is also what it's called, or Austrian speedwell, Hungarian speedwell. It's also sometimes referred to as that. This variety is also commonly called saw-leaved speedwell, and you'll see why. I read that this subspecies specifically won an award. The Royal Horticultural Society decided that this plant gets the award of garden merit. It's kind of funny to me. Like, what does that mean? I told my husband and he was like, what does the plant get? And I was like, I know, right? I mean, I'm sure the plant gets more attention. Plant paparazzi, does it want that? I don't know. I have a high respect for the Royal Horticultural Society, but let's get real. The awards are for us, not for the plants. It's just silly. Anyway, saw-leaved speedwell is a compact mound-forming perennial, hardy from zones 4 to 8. Loves full sun, but tolerates part shade. We have ours in a very sunny spot, super south-facing, barely gets any shade, and it does great. So if you have a really hot and dry area that you don't know what to plant, this is a good option. And I mean it, like we'll water in the morning and we'll even mulch some spots, and then it's bone dry by the evening. Very heat tolerant. If you want to talk aesthetics, it will look great anywhere. Beds, borders, rock gardens, edges, you name it, pick it, whatever. As long as it's not super shady, it'll be okay. It is an award-winning plant after all. The roots are fibrous, so pretty easy to divide. Dividing in the springtime is the best time to divide, and I have heard some people actually even propagate it via stem cuttings. That's something I haven't tried, but I would just do clump division if you wanted to further divide your perennial, or if your perennial grows a little bit too large, or if someone's splitting theirs for you. I recommend clump division if they're willing. Here's a picture of the fibrous root system. I didn't want to fully dig up and show you because it's so happy and established and flowering right now. But there's a visual of what the roots kind of look like underneath. I dug down a little bit and photographed. Most websites would tell you, if you looked it up, that saw-leaved speedwells have axillary racemes. What does that mean? It means that the main stem breaks off into these axillary stems, or branching stems is another way to say it. And each axillary stem has its own raceme, which is just a bunch of flowers, each on their own little tiny stem, coming off that axillary stem. Axillary racemes. Leaf shape is typically oblong, like this one here, but they're also a little more rounded out sometimes, like this one. The edges are toothed, some would even say severely toothed, hence the saw-leaved speedwell name. Behold. Opposite, moving up the stem. Opposite, moving up the stem. Axillary nodes. Oh, there's a nice little set of opposite leaves right there. Axillary stem. Axillary stem. Oh, another axillary stem and a fourth axillary stem. And the main stem just has these leaves here. The plant blooms late spring, early summer. Like we're in the first week of July here, and it's slowly coming to an end. Most stalks only have their terminal flowers left here at the end, so these have all fallen off. But we also did have quite a bit of heavy rain, so might be a little bit of a shorter season than usual. Post bloom, you'll get this really cool stalk like this. See, all these flowers have gone. It's one little, two little ones at the end there, terminals. And like, look at this for texture and height. Even once the flowers are gone, this is gonna look really cool. Ooh, rotisserie Veronica. This specific cultivar, the teucrium subspecies, can grow up to like 18 inches high. Mine are about 15. Some varieties get so tall you may even want to consider staking for support. Definitely read the tags when you buy your Veronica. This cultivar's name is Crater Lake Blue. There are, of course, other colors you can get, pinks, purples, whites, but it's really hard to find a nice true blue perennial. I really like the shape of the whole perennial and the height that it gets to, but the thing that really blows me away is the color. Even in the springtime, when it's just coming up, the green is really, really bright. Super nice for the eyes to feast on in the springtime when there's not a lot going on yet. The blue, obviously, is superb, but a really interesting thing that I did want to mention is, depending on what you put it next to, it can look a different shade. It's a really cool thing that kind of happens in the garden when you have these color combos. We impulse bought some salvias at a nursery that were already quite high, like 18 inches high, planted it in the perennial bed, and they're pretty dark purple. Well, if you would have put this on its own, I would have kind of thought purpley blue, but next to the salvia, it's very, very blue compared to that dark purple, so it looks almost like a different color. You get those colors playing off each other. That's one of my favorite things. The flower buds in their masses are these teeny little tiny fuzzy columns almost. This bud stage is also very cool aesthetically, and then once they do bloom, they bloom from the bottom to the top. Please note, this is also very wonderful. If you have rain or some wind or kind of crazy conditions, or it's just so hot that the flowers end up dropping a little bit, you end up with this nice little blue flower sprinkle on your soil. It's like a gosh darn garden cake sprinkle. Each axillary stem has anywhere from 30 to 50 little flowers on it. From what I've seen, they're kind of cup-shaped at the start when they're really fresh, and then they kind of spread out over time as they get older. They're about 1 centimeter in diameter, and they each have 4 petals. You can see the little stamens poking out of each flower, each tiny flower. You can see the stigma too, if you look really closely. You've probably already guessed this by the look of this flower, but whoa, does it ever attract pollinators. I'm in and out of the house a lot, and every time I do a quick little peek at my Veronica, there's always at least 3 pollinators on it, at all times. Just buzzing around, having a blast. Cutting Veronicas back after your first really hard frost is a good idea. Not a light frost, like your first game over frost kills everything. Cut them back an inch or so above the soil line. I think that's all I have for you based on my experience so far. This comes highly recommended by me for your sunny perennial bed. If it's like too late in your season, you already have everything planted and things are crowded and you feel like it's full, but you really still want to plant one, why don't you just dig up your grass and make a new little zone? Ooh, I just thought of something really good. You could invest like, I don't know, $100 and get a whole bunch of established solid speedwells and make like a Veronica fence on the edge of your property. Can you imagine how that would look? Can you imagine the pollinators it would attract? It would cause car accidents. Bees and blues aplenty. Thanks for watching Plant Speak.